Nigeria's emergency agency says it has tightened security at its warehouses nationwide as a precaution following the looting of food warehouses in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, on Sunday by suspected hoodlums. The raid on the outskirts of Abuja marks the latest social unrest over soaring prices and the country's fraying economy after thousands of demonstrators joined labor union protests last week. Several incidents of attacks and looting of warehouses and food trucks have been reported in many cities against the backdrop of economic hardship. Minister of State for the FCT, Mariya Mahmoud, described it as a crime beyond hunger. Joining us to further discuss this is Kenneth Ikenwa, a business and social policy analyst. Thank you very much for giving us your time on the news. What do you make of this recurring event of attacks on food trucks and looting of warehouses in some parts of the country?
Thank you for having me on. Good evening. I must say that we are living in very disinteresting times in our country. And the events in the last couple of days have been quite pathetic and quite shameful. But it speaks to the obvious conditions that Nigerians believe and have raised the alarm and have been ringing the bell about, that they are actually living in. There is multidimensional poverty in the land, and that hunger is, sweeping across the land like a very wicked flood. Well, there is no excuse for any form of actions like this, but we need to take a look at it and give it proper explanations. Now, the president has made a clarion call for the academia to contribute to solving the problems of the country through research. And there is no better arm of the academia, better than the sociological arm and the economists to give us the solutions. Now, from the sociological angle, which is my first training by my first degree, one of the ways we can explain what is happening in the country is looking or using the strain theory. A lot of Nigerians are actually living in strain right now because they discovered that the culturally set goals and the physiologically set goals that they are supposed to achieve are no longer achievable through, the legal means. And so the best that they can do now is to resort to anomie and chaos to be able to survive the basic goal for every individual, which is to survive. So I sympathize with them, but I do not empathize with the situation. And I do not think that we have resorted to the best way to get out of this. And that brings us back to setting the spotlight on government and to join our heads together and hands together to see how we can stop this from becoming a contagious problem that will spread across the nook and crannies of the different states of the Federation. I hope that the government will be quick to act and arrest this case and nip it in the bud.
And hear me. Does this justify the stealing of commonwealths? The Minister of State for the FCT has described it as a crime beyond hunger. Do you agree with her that people doing this should face some sort of punishment because the food was supposed to go round and not for a few?
Oh, yes. I mean, by the dictates of the law, yes. If people are caught, they should actually be punished and maybe made to face the wrath of the law. But don't forget that this is a natural law and it's a law of hunger. People are hungry, and if foods are kept in places where people feel they are being deprived of getting, like I've said, they would resort to rebellious means to be able to achieve their goals of actually staying alive. So I think I want to beg to disagree with the Honorable Minister. I think, for better want of expression, this is shouldn't be described as a crime per se, but these are just acts of rebellion, which I think could have been avoided if actions were taken ab initio to ensure that, coming back to the economists now, that there is allocative efficiency. One of the reasons why we're finding ourselves in this situation is that the resources that are available, the commonwealth that is available, like you said, she rightly described in her submission, are not efficiently distributed across Nigerians. So there is no Pareto optimality, there's no Pareto improvement. And when these things happen, people resort to anomie, to chaos, people resort to deviance to be able to keep themselves alive. So we should look for alternative explanations. We should evoke the doctrine of alternatives and see how we can stop this from happening in the future. And like I've said before, a rebellion can be contagious. It spreads easily. So how do we nip this in the bud and ensure that it doesn't go beyond where it has happened in different states has happened and start spreading to other states of the Federation, and then picks up as a social movement that causes massive disruption of the social order, of the moral order, and then a breakdown of society and a complete tearing down of the moral fabric of our society. These are the dangers ahead of us, and these are the things we must quickly pay attention to.
Ed, for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me on.